What's up, everybody? It's me, Retrovin, and we're back with another review. This time we're going to be reviewing Klonoa, Door to Phantomile, a very interesting and creative game that I always wanted to do a little review on. I'm very excited to try this game, and let's get into it. First things first, of course, we're going to go ahead and talk about the story as we always do, and I'll tell you what I think about it. It's not really much to talk about, but it'll be a nice thing to get into at least. So to start off the story, Klonoa basically starts off with, Klonoa and Hugh Pow. They're ready for adventure, they're ready to get out of their abode, and that's basically what they do. It's a very interesting story. There will be some spoilers, so feel free to skip if you don't want to. I'll put on a little thing that'll warn you guys. But, with that out of the way, the story is pretty simple. It's Klonoa wants to, figure out what's going on. There's a darkness that he's got to stop that happens to be in his home. He's got a friend, Hugh Pow, who has a very mysterious history, and, just all kinds of confusion abound. But the story as a whole is pretty good. You later find out that Klonoa is actually, not from this world, and I remember that was such a big twist when I played the game. It was a welcome twist, it was a very interesting one, but, oh my god, was it a wild one. You'll also meet a bunch of cool characters who you'll basically talk to throughout the story as well. So there's tons of stuff you can get from it. It's really nice, honestly. But with the main story out of the way, I do want to talk about the big twist with Hugh Pow. So it turns out that Hugh Pow's actually not a blob. He's actually like a humanoid kind of creature, which was really weird, to be honest. So, with all the story out of the way, I think it's fair to mention the gameplay. And let me tell you, the gameplay is very solid. It's very Kirby-like, whereas Kirby would, suck up enemies. Klonoa's more of a, he's gonna, grab them, pick them up, throw them at other enemies kind of thing. Or even use them for jumps. They're very good for boost jumps as well, which makes it a very useful and valuable move. Klonoa also has hearts for health. You can pick them up throughout the levels. There's also a live system, which normally I would complain, because most of the time, unless it's Crash or Spyro or something, I usually don't like a live system in games. But Klonoa's that third one. Klonoa's one of those few where I don't really mind a live system. They actually utilize it fairly well, all things considered. Now, one kind of minor complaint I do have is, and this is why it was kind of hard for the review, is you had to beat the game to get all the levels, selectable, which wasn't a big deal, because I intended to beat the game. But it's kind of stupid they didn't have a level select from the get-go, which, I'm not complaining, but I feel like they should have had that, and that's my little issue I have with it. Now, let me tell you, the environments in this game are really nice. Some of them kind of do blend. I'm not even going to defend that in all the ways, but for the most part, there's usually a fair amount of variety, even with some of the blending that's in it. So, for what it's worth, they had a good environment variety. The lives, again, part of the reason why I liked it is they're pretty plentiful, so you can pretty much just find them everywhere. The enemy varieties are pretty decent. Sometimes it'll just change the color, but there's always some kind of new enemy every so often, and a new way to utilize your powers, which I always love to see. I really love the different use of, levers and different widgets throughout the game, too. This level that I'm showing off right here, that's a pretty good example of how they utilize it. It's a really cool thing, and unlike most games, they utilize their little features well, and enough to where it doesn't get annoying, so it's almost like that perfect middle point. Very rarely in Klonoa have I ever been, super angry at it. The only time I ever got, super annoyed at it was, at a certain point, where, it was near the end of the game. The game also makes heavy use of different puzzle pieces as well. And these puzzle pieces are very similar to like Scout Flies and Jak and Daxter, or just any extra collectible, Jinjos and Banjo-Kazooie, I can go on. But basically, they'll give you a special little thing if you get all the puzzle pieces, which is really neat. I like that kind of incentive for getting stuff like that, you know? And overall, it's just a good game. They make really good use of the 2.5D as well. I cannot stress that enough. It is such a beautiful looking game for what is supposed to be 2D. And in the PS1 era, it's very groundbreaking for the time, especially that they're able to pull something this crazy off back in like the 90s. And I mean, it's not perfect, but like compared to a lot of games from the PS1 era, it really stands out, and I can't stress enough how much it does. With that out of the way, though, let's go ahead and get on to the boss. I really like the bosses in this game. They make great use of the different environments and different parts of it. Like, for example, you have a boss where you'll be, like, moving forward and backwards. It's gimmicky, I will admit, but it is so cool. I love that usage of it. And I like the bosses. They make good use of throwing the enemies, too, and all that. There's not too many bosses, like, to where, like, it gets annoying. But there's a perfect amount where, like, you know, at the end of every vision you get a new boss. It's a very basic thing, but a very well-utilized thing as well. Like, this boss right here is utilizing the ground to basically hit me. And it's such a cool move. I love that. I love that in these kinds of games. It's a very well-thought-out mechanic, honestly. You even eventually fight the clown guy who, he gets pretty angry throughout the game as you defeat his little toys, or enemies, or whatever you want to call them. You eventually fight him and his boss, it's okay. I like the button walking, but it can get annoying at times, too. With that out of the way, though, let's get on to the music, and let me tell you, the music is so freaking good. I love the music in this game. Yeah, but without further ado, let's go ahead and show off the music. Well, everybody, that's my review of Klonoa Door to Phantomile. Klonoa is a very nice game, and I'm so happy I was able to review it, especially considering, you know, for the longest time I've mostly been doing games on my PS5. This is going to be a thing I'll be doing more often, and it's very exciting. I can't wait to see what other, you know, games I'll be reviewing in the future. But to get on with the score, I think Klonoa was a very, very, very solid game. It's probably one of my favorite games, and I was surprised by it, but honestly, I love the use of the 2.5D style. I love the length. Everything about it is perfect, except for a few minor things, of course. But overall, I would say if I was to hypothetically give it a number rating, I would definitely give it like a 9 out of 10 kind of score. Although, yeah, that's going to be it. Hope you guys enjoyed this